All right.
Now you're good.
Got it. Now, yes, I got the message. So welcome everybody. As Rebecca said, I'm Fiona Smith. I work at Tattle Creek Montessori School and I'm going into my 22nd year there. I was just telling Ray, I think it was, that they have a brick named after me in the new wing. No, they don't. I'm only joking. But so I am so excited and delighted and honored to have been asked to talk as part of this master series because, and especially about tonight's topic, one of my all-time favorites is how we can support Montessori at home. So I am going to dispel a myth, which is a lot of people think that in order to support Montessori at home, you have to buy all of Montessori's wonderful, beautiful materials that we have in the classroom. And that is not the case at all. So we support, so first of all, there are two sentences that I love. One is in Maria Montessori's words, help me to help myself. And the second one is how we can set our children up for success, or to think about setting our children up for success at all times. So if we keep these two short sentences in our heads most of the time, then you have your answer. How do we support Montessori at home? Montessori is not just something to be done for part of the day or in the classroom or in this environment, but not in that environment. Montessori is a way of life. And if we embody it as such, then it becomes second nature to us. Nice, Finn. I'm glad you like school. I love school too. I love going every day. But so yes, so if we embody that philosophy, or embody the fact that Montessori is a philosophy for life, then we can set our children up for success, and we can support them anywhere, anytime, any place. One of the big components, of course, of Montessori is independence and following the needs of the child. Now, that, when we say follow the child, there has to be a limit to that, and in the freedom, a freedom with limits, because if there isn't, well, then it's not going to work. So, as my trainer used to love saying, yes, Montessori said follow the child, but she didn't say follow them off a cliff. And that's it exactly. Children, I'm primarily going to talk about the child 3 to 6, but I know there might be or there are parents here that have younger children. I teach Casa children aged to 6, and so when I say 3 to 6, I mean 2.5 and upwards. So if you have questions about very young children, I will endeavor to answer them. And if I can't, I'll certainly direct you towards the information, and also reference some links that might be helpful to you. But so children need to be developmentally. Children are striving for independence. Yes, there's that wonderful, lovely word that sometimes, as parents, drives us a little bit crazy. But so with that in mind, when we think about how we can support them being independent, setting them up for success, and helping them to do it themselves, you sort of work backwards. So, for example, if a child is trying to master dressing themselves, okay? And so the end result is that we want this child to be able to dress themselves without too much intervention. You have to look at first of all, at the clothes. You have to look at the child's abilities and build on their abilities. So with our very young children, there's absolutely no point giving them garments that have belts and buckles, straps, and, you know, buttons they have to tie at the back, because that's not setting them up for success. They cannot be successful with clothing like that. So you buy, or, you know, get your friends hand-me-downs or whatever, but you look at clothes that the child can reasonably put on by themselves. Elasticated pants, elasticated waisted pants, tops that have a loose neck that they can easily put over their head. And then, of course, you know, the socks are always going to be an issue, but step by step and build one thing on top of the other, they eventually will be able to put on their socks. Or, you know, I can do this much for you, and you pull up the heel. What I love to do with the younger children in the class when they're learning to dress themselves is, I'll pull up the front, you pull up the back, or vice versa. I'll pull up the back, you pull up the front. So it's a two-way stream. And eventually, with this kind of consistency and this help, your child will be able to dress themselves successfully, and they'll have mastered that. And then with that success builds on the next success, and gives them the confidence that they need to move on to something else. So also, you know, we're building up our child's so independence, self-esteem, confidence, critical thinking skills. Important as to have your child help you in the kitchen, around the house, in the garden, doing the laundry, making their bed. That, sorry, Rebecca, I'm just getting messages here saying the recording is stopping. And
yeah, sorry guys, my internet turns out is unstable.
Oh, okay.
So I think it was all me. I don't know if, anyway, I logged out and came back in. I don't know if we lost you or everybody's here. It looks.
No, I think it was just you. Anyway, sorry. So what I was saying, setting our children up for success, building self-esteem, critical thinking skills, all of these components, or they're all developed with real live tasks that, like I said, we find every day in the house. For example, oh yes, but this is what I was going to say. So again, thinking about setting your child up for success, if you are on a time frame and you have to be out of the house in the morning, I know a lot of us now are working from home with COVID and stuff, but we'll say pre-pandemic times, or if you have to leave your house in the morning and you're under a time frame, a time limit, then that is not the time to be asking your child to make pancakes, because we're not setting them up for success, because you're going to get stressed, you're going to get impatient, they're going to pick up on that, and then it won't be an enjoyable time for all. So, you know, yes, it is possible for your child of 3 to 6 and younger to be making pancakes, or to be helping in the process of making pancakes. As the adult, you have to be okay with a certain amount of, shall I use the word mess? We don't use that word in our classroom. There's no such thing as a mess. This is the product of our activities. That's how we like to call it. And great learning opportunities. But so these real life skills, again, you have to break down the task, and you have to look at it and say, what is my end goal here? Well, we're going to make pancakes for breakfast. This is what we're going to do. So how can I assist my child with this? What can my child do in this process to so that they may feel that they are genuinely involved, not just paying lip service? That's very, very important. Children know when they're being fobbed off, and children are very, very capable. If we scaffold and layer the skills and build them up one on top of the other, then there's absolutely no reason why our child can't be making pancakes at, 3.5 or 3 even. So you look at what your end result is, and then you work backwards. And you look at the things critically and you think, okay, what challenge is presented here? How can I help my child with this without being overbearing, without doing too much? So for example, with baking, your child can spoon. Your child can spoon in the ingredients. Your child can spoon ingredients into the measuring cup and then pour them into a bowl. And your child can mix. Now, if you're very particular about your baking and you want to make Victoria sponges, maybe having your 3-year-old sit in and help you on that is probably not the best idea. But, things that we don't have to be too particular with: muffins, pancakes, bread, and then we build on that. Again, helping with dinner or helping with lunch, helping prepare food. All of these tasks are of vital importance for your child, because this is where they're building up critical thinking skills, sense of order, concentration, and all of these things. As we know, this is what our children need for formal learning later on. With any type of formal schoolwork, they need to be able to sit, they need to be able to organize, they need to be able to focus and concentrate. And what better way to practice those skills than doing real life tasks around the house, in the kitchen? Like I said, folding laundry, putting laundry in the machine. If your child can't reach the machine, get a step stool. They're setting your child up for success. Very simple piece of planning. Bring the step stool downstairs or wherever your laundry machine is, and the child can then successfully put the laundry in. Before the laundry comes downstairs, have a basket in your child's bedroom, or a central area that your child knows. This is where we're going to put our dirty clothes. So when we take something off our body, this is where we put it. And again, you build up that routine until it becomes second nature. And then you won't have to, when they're 13 and 14, be going around screaming, or not screaming, but, maybe a little upset, saying, "Why can't you put your clothes in the laundry basket? That's what a laundry basket's for. Do you not know how to use it?" So we eliminate all of that. Children don't learn these things by osmosis. And just because your teenager is 15 or 16 or whatever age they are, doesn't mean that if they haven't been expected to put their clothes in the laundry basket when they take them off, they're not going to learn it by osmosis. It's not going to be, "Oh, I'm 15 now, I really should start putting my clothes in the laundry hamper," if they've never done it before, if we've always been doing it for them. So, and so again, like I said, starting with when you're thinking about how your child can help, very simply, young children love to sort. And so why not sort all the socks? Can you find a sock that looks like this? Let's put them together. That's all they need to do for now. Eventually, you can show them how to fold one sock over the top of the other, so to keep the pair intact. But in the beginning, a young child won't have that kind of skill. So just put the 2 socks together. That's helping to sort. And then, like I say, you can build up. We always have to be mindful of our children's successes and achievements, and then observing and watching when they're ready for the next skill or the next challenge, because it's in this scaffolding that we keep the child engaged, we keep our children challenged, and this is what we want for our children. Children love to be challenged. Children, but not to the point of frustration. And that's where you have to kind of step back and see, right, is this skill appropriate? Not yet. And, you know, if we do jump in and say, okay, you know what, you can use the saber saw today to cut the wood that I need to make a shed. And then you realize, oh, yeah, maybe that wasn't the best choice. And so you dial back. Okay, maybe the child can't use the saber saw unaided, but they can do something else. So you dial back and then you monitor and you focus, but we have to continue challenging our children. Absolutely. This is how they learn. And this is how they grow and develop. So if anybody has any questions about that, kindly, you know, jump in and let me know. Tantrums, developmentally, children, young children, you know, this is how they behave. They have to have tantrums, whether, you know, we as adults want them to or not. So developmentally, this is how our children grow. And so it's up to the adult in their life to be always consistent with our behavior, with our tone of voice, with our answers. So, you know, when I like to say, when a child says, why do I have to do that? I'll say, because I asked you. And that's it. But when our children are in the midst of a temper tantrum, young children under 6 do not have a reasoning mind. The child starts to develop their reasoning mind in and around, you know, 5 to 6. So 5, 5.5, that's when the child's reasoning mind is beginning to develop. So when our young children are beside themselves and having a tantrum, it's not helpful for us to try and reason it out with them. Well, you're going to do this and because, and then if you do this, and then this is going to happen after that. And no, too much. I can see you're upset. Would you like a hug? And so maybe the child says, yes, I want a hug. Maybe the child says, no, I don't want a hug. Maybe the child ignores us. You can say, I understand. I see you're upset. I'm here to help. So I will wait until you're ready to tell me or how you need my help or if you want my help. I'll wait. I'll be over there on the seat. I'll wait here beside you. But I can see you're upset, so I will wait. Now, the hug is a great thing. I love hugs because they really diffuse situations. You're not condoning the child's behavior when you're hugging. You're not saying, okay, you know, I'm just going to pay. Some people might think, oh, well, if I hug my child and they're in the midst of a tantrum, well, isn't that just giving in to them or giving in to their whims or spoiling them? No, you're just letting them know that you can see they're upset and you're feeling they're upset and you want to help. And then at another time, later in that day, when the moment has passed and things are calm and you're doing something completely different, you come back to that moment of behavior and you say very specifically, do you remember when you got your book and you threw it at my head? I didn't like that. That was not acceptable behavior. And that's it. We move on. So you're letting them know, but not at the time of the tantrum, because as I said, that is not the time when you're trying to reason things out. But at a different point, always coming back, always revisiting that moment and just very simply. And nonchalantly, I didn't like it when you, whatever it was. In this way, we're role modeling for our children so that they see through this kind of role modeling, they will be able to do the very same thing. I didn't like it when you said, I didn't like it when you did, and they're able to emulate our behavior. Now, listen, of course, we're all human and we all fall off the wagon and we all lose our temper at times or get frustrated. And I think I was saying this to Rebecca earlier, it's extremely important that we admit this to our children. We have to let our children know that we make mistakes, because again, through our role modeling of owning up to our mistakes, it lets the children know that it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are a part of life. Mistakes are how we learn. If none of us made mistakes, what a boring world it would be. We'd never learn from it. So, you know, you own up. I should not have said that. That was wrong of me. My behavior was unacceptable. And I apologize. I will try to do better the next time. So as parents and as adults and teachers and caregivers, we have to be able to forgive ourselves. So when we do make a poor choice, or we, you know, fall off the wagon, like I say, of consistency, you recognize it. Say it to yourself. That was a poor choice. I should not have behaved in that way. I'm going to try and do better the next time. And, you know, and then try and do better the next time. We can't just keep apologizing to our children and apologizing, but not changing our behavior. Children are very loving and forgiving, and they don't hold grudges like us adults. And so to be honest and to show them that, you know, we made a poor choice, then, like I said, it lets them see that when they've made poor choices, they can own up to it as well. Very, very important. Role modeling, tone of voice, grace and courtesy, politeness and kindness. And I always like to, with language, to, instead of saying, you know, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do this, what they are welcome to do. So for example, if your child is not welcome to use a sharp knife in the kitchen because you haven't built up to that skill yet, you can say, you're welcome to use this knife, or you're welcome to use that knife. And that way, you know, you're not pointing out not what they're not welcome to do, but what they are. So always to put a positive spin on things. You're welcome to wear the green coat or the yellow coat, but I want to wear the red coat. You're welcome to wear the green coat or the yellow coat, but I want to wear the red coat. You're welcome to wear the green coat or the yellow coat, but I want to wear the red coat. I understand. I can see you're upset. However, you're welcome to wear the green coat or the yellow coat. Which brings me to the whole choice and giving our children choices and decision making. There are certain decisions our children should not be making. They are children, and certain decisions that the adults in their life have to make for them. But we can give our children choices around a myriad of things. We have to think about the choices that we're giving, or we want. So for example, if, you know, again, I'll bring it back to very simply the coat situation. If you really want your child to be wearing the yellow coat to school because it's waterproof or windproof or whatever, and you know the weather is inclement, and this is the coat that's going to protect them most, then don't have the red coat and the green coat in the closet that day. Think about it the night before and only have that one coat. So there is no choice. But, you know, so in this way, you're eliminating that. But when you do create choices for your children, again, the same thing. You can have carrots or broccoli. Well, I want bananas. You can have carrots or broccoli. I want a banana. I understand. However, tonight's dinner is carrots and broccoli. And there it is. So, and again, so you have to sort of think about these things and plan. And then, of course, if you do get into a situation where there are way too many choices, well, you'll see that as a yeah, see, I shouldn't have done that. So, and then the next time you'll learn from that mistake, and you won't give the child as many choices. Choices are great, but again, you have to be mindful. If you really want them to choose something, if you already have the answer in your head that you want, then don't give them a choice about it, because that's not fair, because you're only going to get into a battle of wills. So you have to be very mindful of what the outcome you want to happen, if and sort of orchestrate it in that way, if that makes sense. Again, like I said, please feel free to jump in with any questions, or if I'm not making myself clear or succinct, or just let me know, and I'll hopefully reiterate in a different way. Let's see. So what else can we do to support Montessori, like I said, in our home? So we've talked about independence, and we've talked about freedom within limits, and we've talked about building up critical thinking skills. Maybe I didn't talk about that enough, or not in detail, but logically, shall we say. How do we bring what, everybody wants that. It seems to be the buzzword. I want my child to be a critical thinker. I want my child to be a critical thinker. How do we develop our critical thinking skills in our children? Very, very simply. So for example, if we're again at the dinner table, or baking or washing or something, and there's a spill, and you point out, oh, I noticed there's a spill on the floor. What do you think we need? Or we might need, what do you think we might need to clean that up? And your child might answer, a sponge or a cloth. Okay, let's see. And then as the child is sponging, and they're sponging the water, squeezing it into the bucket, and they're, deducting, okay, I'm taking the water and I'm squeezing it, the sponge. I squeeze the sponge, the water goes into the bucket. I empty the bucket in the sink. I wonder what will happen if I spilt the water all over the floor again. Or I wonder what would happen. This is essentially critical thinking for our children. And so, of course, as we become adults, that skill, we hopefully build on it and build on it and build on it. And we're able to solve, different problems. But that's what critical thinking is. This is happening right now. I need this in order to be successful. Again, or they might say, oh, let's get the mop. And maybe the mop is this huge, big mop that they can't be successful with. And the handle is too long and they can't manipulate it. So they're not being successful. But they've made a suggestion, and you can come along and say, may I make a suggestion? I love that little, may I make a suggestion? Again, this is great when the children, when you see, or just before, hopefully you see them getting to that point of frustration, because again, you have to try and step in before that point of frustration. With that, may I make a suggestion? And then your suggestion hopefully alleviates that a little bit.
Fiona, we do have a question in the chat.
Tell me.
It's about I guess, social skills, and not just like we've been talking about critical thinking skills and a whole host of other scaffolding skills. This question is about social skills. A parent is concerned because their 4-year-old is in school for the first time after COVID, and they're not familiar with, I guess, negotiating with other children, and there are situations that they're unfamiliar with that they weren't prepared for, like maybe children being mean or being critical of their artwork or something, just like conflicts.
Right, conflicts, absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. So again, you know, language is very important. So for example, if your child is, you know, comes home and says, I did this picture and somebody said they didn't like it. Oh, that must have been upsetting for you, was it? Yes, it was. And so you can give sort of role model language. Did you say to that person that I didn't like it when you said that about my picture? That made me feel upset. And so here's the type of words you can use. So for example, when we're with the children, or when I'm with the children and we're trying to solve issues like that, I actually give them the words to use. You know, a great one is when children are name calling. So-and-so called me baby. I said, so-and-so called you baby, and did you want to be called baby? No, I didn't want to be called baby. You didn't like it when you were being called baby. I did not like it when I was being called baby. Well, perhaps you can go and say to so-and-so, my name is Fiona. And if you don't want to call me Fiona, please don't call me anything. And I give them that language to use. So again, with helping with social situations, whether it's conflict or not, I always like to role model language. So-and-so says they're not my friend, or so-and-so won't sit with me. I'm doing my work and I want to sit with John, and John doesn't want to sit with me. And I will say, I can see that you're upset. However, John is saying he doesn't want to sit with you at this point in time. He's not saying he doesn't like you. He's not saying he's not your friend. He's just saying at this point in time, he doesn't want to sit with you. And that's okay. Because again, they have to be okay with that. But giving the exact language to the child, role modeling that language, role modeling tone of voice. For example, if, you know, a child says to another child, I don't want you to sit with me. Well, they're quite entitled to say, I don't want you to sit with me. However, in a polite tone of voice. So I say, you know, when you said, I don't want to sit with you, that, you know, your friend was a little upset with that because of how you said it, that tone of voice. This is what I mean by tone of voice. Now, you can say to your friend, I don't want to sit with you. You're not changing your words, but you're changing how you say your words. Politeness and kindness. We're trying to practice politeness and kindness. And again, it's a practice. Everything is a practice. We practice things because that's how we progress. That's how we evolve. I had a wonderful discussion with a 5.5-year-old the other day about how practice makes progress and practice does not make perfect. And we had a wonderful discussion about what perfect means and why really there's no such thing as perfect, because what I might think is perfect, you might not think is perfect. And so everybody has a different perception and a different opinion, and we're all entitled to our perceptions and our opinions. So therefore it's much, it's much more valuable to talk about practice and progress as opposed to practice being making perfect. Because again, that idea that if we can't do something unless it's going to be absolutely perfect, in whose eyes? And again, you know, I always try and say to the children, when they, do you like my picture? I said, tell me about your picture. Do you like your picture? I noticed that there's a stroke of green in that. Oh, look how that, I love how you slanted the blue pencil in that and made it this way. So that they're not looking for my validation for their piece of work or for their creativity or for their, their creation. The idea is that, you know, we try and instill intrinsic motivation in our child. We do things because it's the right thing to do, and not because I'm going to get a reward for it, or somebody says I'm going to, you know, I'm great or I'm wonderful. I'm nice. That's not to say we can't compliment our children. Absolutely, we should be complimenting our children, because everybody, I mean, even, you know, we all love a compliment, and we all love to have validation and affirmation, but there's a difference between needing it and wanting that incessantly, and that's the only thing that motivates us and strives us, is if somebody else is going to validate what we do. And we want to try and eliminate that for our children. Does that answer your question? Was there another, I feel there was another component to it maybe that that I'm missing.
There was, but I think you got it because it was, how do we catch up socially with self-esteem? And I really feel like what you were just saying there about intrinsic motivation and about, you know, being proud of your own work versus seeking validation is a large part of that self-esteem component.
Okay. And like I said, I'm not saying that we can't compliment and we can't affirm our children. Of course we can, but we have to be mindful how we're doing it, and as well, when to listen to their questions. Do you like my picture? Are they only going to like their picture because I like it? So we have to create this, you know, in our and build up build up this resilience in our children.
And Susie, you chime in as well. It's your question. If you feel we've answered it, or if you have any like follow-ups for us as well.
Let me see, where was I? Yes, always. So again, we always have to put our faith in our child, always, because we don't know when they're going to be successful at something, but know that by putting your faith in your child, it will happen. You know, I have, as I say to a lot of you who know me as because I'm your child's teacher, I'll say that exact thing to you. I don't know when they're going to stop crying, but I do know they will at some point. I can't give you a date and I can't give you a time, but I do know it will happen. So we have to have this faith in our child that they will be successful and that they will master and they will succeed at some point, if we've helped them along the way with the correct role modeling, with the scaffolding, you know, setting them up for success. There's a great book and a great resource. Simone Davies, she's written 2 books. She's written the Montessori Toddler, which is an amazing book, and it's not just for parents of toddlers. And the Montessori Baby, she just came out with that, I think, earlier on or late last year. But both, she also has an Instagram page, and it's called the Montessori Notebook. Simone Davies, the Montessori Notebook. But we'll reference these links somehow if you know, make sure I get them to you. But her books are so, what I love about her books and how she writes is because she's very pragmatic and succinct. And it's not something you have to pick up and read from start to finish. You can pick up the book at any point and she'll give you tips on how to establish routines with your child. She gives you tips on toileting and food, and but also there was one thing that I wanted to say about her. Oh yes, she has at the back of her book in the Montessori Toddler, she has a lovely list of instead of saying this, say this. Now, Rebecca, which leads me to you posted something after Thanksgiving and a list such as something similar. And it was all the things that we shouldn't have said around candy as parents.
Oh yeah.
And
Halloween.
you know, yeah, instead of saying this, say this, instead of saying this, say this. And so Rebecca very, you know, she's, well, I said all the wrong things.
Yeah, I really messed that one up.
Well, sure. But you acknowledge that to yourself and then you move on and you'll say the next time, I will try better.
It's next time. Last Halloween.
Exactly, right? But yeah, so at the back of her book, she has a wonderful list of instead of saying this, say this. And which, you know, because language is hugely important. The language that we use with our children is hugely, hugely important. And always trying to be role modeling positive language for them. Yes, I will share that list of language. We can, I have a copy of the book. I don't have it on me, but I do have it. My assistant has it actually at the moment. So I will get that. I will get that book and I will get the list. But I also do think, I believe it might be on her Instagram, which is the Montessori Notebook. Simone Davies, the Montessori Notebook.
I think we also have a few extra copies of the book floating around Tattle, because I know I took one home at one point. So if you're at Tattle, or if you're at any of the schools, we can probably pass a copy along if you're interested.
Yeah. And like I said, and it's just something to get into, you know, to you're not, if it doesn't come naturally to you, it's not going to roll off your tongue, but practice. Again, you practice when you're by yourself. You practice when you're in the shower. You practice, you know, if you're driving in the car alone. Practice these words and situations. Oh, right, when that happened, yes, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said this. And again, you forgive yourself and you move on. Because if you can't forgive yourself, then you'll not be able to forgive your children, and our children will never learn forgiveness. So we have to role model that as well. And kindness, and as we say in Casa too all the time, kindness and politeness, or politeness and kindness, we're practicing. So, and I think that if we, you know, stick with that. Any other questions? How are we, like, are we good for time? What if?
Yeah, we're good for time. If we have any questions, you're welcome to either unmute or say something in the chat.
I hope you know, again, I'm coming back to this, how can we support Montessori at home? And I hope that through what I've been saying tonight, I hope I've been able to give you pointers and tips and that are relevant and concrete. Rebecca, tell me if I haven't, because there's nothing, there's nothing worse than saying, you know, getting all this lofty advice and then, but okay, I want the practicalities of it. What happens when this happens? So I hope I was able to share that. But again, like I said, if we keep in our minds, help me to do it myself, and to always remember to set our children up for success. That is going to, that has to be, you know, what resonates, and hopefully that will help us work through things.
Amazing. Well, if there are no questions, then I think we'll just say goodnight. It's 7:54.
And if you think of questions later on,
Yes,
feel free.
please.
Yeah.
Hey, Claire.
Thanks, Fiona. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome.
Have a good night.
You
Good
too.
night.
Thank you. That was really great.
Thanks, Bree.
Thanks.
Hi,
Thanks
Gabby.
so much. Thank you again.
Thanks, Gabby.
Bye-bye. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye. I guess I can stop recording.